Hello everyone, we are starting new series on our YouTube channel, which is going to be devoted to the match between Ding Liren and Gukesh in 1 month in Singapore for the World Championship title. We're gonna record 16 videos about each world champion, and every video will consist of 3 parts. First one is going to be about the history, the way to success of each world champion, how he played, what he did, and stuff like that. Second one gonna be about the games. We're gonna pick 1, 2, 3 games depending on the world champion, critical positions, the most memorable, remarkable games, combination stuff like that, depending on the style of the contestant. And the third one is the most interesting part. We're gonna rating all the world champions using 6 ranks and evaluate it on a scale from 1 to 10. There will be 6 ranks, as I mentioned. First one gonna be dominance. It's gonna show how much world champion was stronger than others, how many tournaments did he win during his world championship title moments or before, and I mean, I guess here it's pretty clear. Second one gonna be the talent, because there are some world championships like that are very talented, like Capablanca, Carlsen, and stuff like that, and there are some hard-working guys, like let's say between Nick, Ava, and others. Third one actually gonna be about hard work, because I mean, not so many world championships get this title if they're not working hard, and this is gonna be in our list. Number 4, one of the most interesting ones, is entertainment, because different world champions, different styles, and we're gonna tell our subjective opinion who we think showed great performances, who do we think are the best players, and what styles do we like the most. Fifth one is influence on chess. It means amount of opening lines that player created while his chess career, during his chess career, or for example, many interesting examples that are in a different strategical endgame books, and like his chess legacy. That's how I can describe it pretty shortly. And the last one is going to be influence outside chess, which means I mean, all the things that's related to chess, but not directly. Like, for example, raising popularity in the country in chess, like with Anand in India, or let's say raising prize money, like from Fischer, or I don't know, and others trying to praise rights of the chess players and so on and so on. You will see that. So any sort of outside activities that boosted chess to another level. And this is actually it, and you can enjoy our first video again about the first world champion, which is William Steinitz, or William Steinitz as you like it more. Wilhelm Steinitz was born in 1836 in Jewish ghetto in Prague. He had a huge family of 13 children. At the age of 12, he learned how to play chess and pretty quickly showed his talent. Then he went to Vienna University of Technology in 1858, and that's why he started play regularly in the Cafe Partridge. In 1859, 60, 61, he slowly climbed to the top. He started the best player of Vienna Chess Society, left university, and really started working on chess. London, 62 was the biggest tournament for him, first international tournament where a lot of strong players participated, and Steinitz scored 6th place with 8 out of 13, which is a great first result. Then he decided to stay in London because it had a better chess infrastructure, and he started winning different matches against Blackburn and other masters right here. And the first huge victory was in 1866. He played a match against Anderson, who actually played matches against Paul Murphy, who retired, so therefore Anderson was one of the strongest players there. And it was a really tough combat, one player winning another, and so on and so on. There was no draws, so it's like, I mean, when do we see matches with no draws, unless on your chess account games? He won 8-6. which was great performance because he outplayed one of the strongest chess players in the world back then. But then he played different tournaments in Scotland, Paris, Baden-Baden, where he couldn't score first place. He was always near top, but couldn't score. And then he realized one thing, very, very simple thing, which nobody really saw. Uh, it's like because everybody playing in attacking chess. It was romantic times. Everybody thought if you do not play gambits, you do not accept them, then you suck. And everybody like all aboard, all in the attack. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And then he realized, why should I attack if defense takes less energy and I don't really need to carry that much? And attack makes sense when your opponent has some weaknesses. So that's exact moment when he kinda found and like created really positional chess school. And in 1872, he played against his one of the greatest rivals throughout his chess career, Zukertort, and he won him 7-1 using this approach with some draws. Then he wins some tournament in Vienna ahead of Anderson and many others. But then unexpectedly he went to the sport magazine field, which became his main thing. He suspended his chess career. He started writing some notes. He was doing it pretty successfully. He actually not only just showed games, but he also analyzed them pretty deep, showed some theoretical novelties, critical moments, and stuff like that. And funny thing happened in 1882 when he kinda criticized Zukertort annotations to his game in another chess magazine, which led to some sort of war, which was called Ink War, and it led to quitting his job in the end. So he concentrated on playing chess more, was winning some tournament, was losing some tournament. Let's say in 83rd in London, Zukertort was 3 points ahead. And after it, he went to US, again, worked in some other magazine, give some simuls, some different interesting exhibitions. And then there was a talk about the first ever World Championship match that was about to be organized. Like 3 years, they couldn't agree where to play, how to play, and stuff like that until finally, in the end of 1885, they agreed to play a match in US, in New York, St. Louis, and New Orleans until somebody gets 2 wins. Zukertort, very attacking combinational player, and Steinitz, who's been called kind of coward, who's playing very conservative, not attacking, trying to prevent. What approach would win? And everything started with a victory of Steinitz. Then 4 games in a row, Zukertort won. But then like it's not new for Steinitz. He liked, let's say, losing some points in the beginning. He started doing comeback, playing seriously, and crushed his opponent with 10-5, with some draws, of course. And as Lasker later said, Zukertort believed in combination, but Steinitz could prevent it before this chance for a combination could even appear. And this positional approach showed how powerful it can be, which actually will play later against Steinitz in his match against Lasker. Later, Steinitz played 3 matches. In 88, he was offered in Havana to play any player he wants, so he picked Chigorin because he had a bad score against it, and against Mikhail he managed to win 11 and a half for 6.5 because Chigorin was also a very creative player, very attacking player, and again his approach worked. Then there was one match against Isidor Gunsberg, and it was win pretty hard, but he managed to win. Actually, what's the reason to not have a lot of matches? Because it was necessary to find some money for prize funds. It's not like right now Canada's tournament. Later, he played one more match against Chigorin, but this time it was super tough. They played until 10 wins and with a score 9-8. He had absolutely losing position, but Chigorin couldn't win the game. He blundered, which helped Steinitz to continue being the world champion. He actually said that he doesn't want to continue anymore, but then in 1894 he was offered a match against Lasker, who was 26. Steinitz was, by the way, 58. How does that sound? And Lasker was just younger, stronger, faster, better, and he managed to beat him 10-5, and that's how Steinitz unfortunately lost his title. Uh, After it, he continued playing tournaments even more actively, but right now it's going to be a sad part, so sit down if you're a very sensitive person. He couldn't climb to top anymore. He had some problems with his health in 1899, and he actually lived with no money, being very poor. His family struggled. He has two small children until in 1900 he died from the heart attack. Yeah, pretty sad, but still, his legacy is great, and let's see games and grades that we gave him. And right now, we're gonna analyze the games. My friend Vladimir joins us.
Ciao.
And we're going to show you two examples from world champion to world champion. It would be different. One example Vladimir chose, one example I chose, and is what it as it was said before. Steinitz was more positional player, so the games will kind of show his general playing style. So let's begin. It all started with a French defense, which nowadays super popular variation. Many games were played with the 5 system, and 3D Steinitz plays it as well. After 97, F4 was played, which is also one of the modern ways of play. But 3D nowadays, Knight f3 is the main theoretical line. After 96, Bishop e3, many deviations, but 3D DC was played, which kind of makes sense. But after Bishop c5, this bishop kind of develops with the tempo, so I don't really see any need. So how we move on is knight f3, a6, bishop d3, knight c6, queen e2, and oh, arrows, who knew? Knight b4. How do you think, Vladimir, was it a good move or not? Because this
Okay,
was
I have some questions about this move. So first of all, I mean, the bishop on d3 is not running anywhere. Moreover, after queen e2 was already played, and knight b4 you can play it later. It's true that a3 could be played by white if you don't go for knight b4 right now. But okay, as long as you don't castle short, probably this bishop is harmless. And by playing knight b4, taking on d3, there are two downsides as well. One is obvious, one that you waste 1, 2, 3 tempests to capture the piece that move just once. And another one is that white just by taking on c5 a little bit has a little bit less of center control, but by capturing c takes d, then pawn will go to d4 in future and will reinforce the white center.
Yeah, also there is a problem with this bishop, so don't play twice with the same piece, especially when you're removing the bishop who wasn't great. Probably something like b5 would be better, continue development, but better not to go castle because there are some great gifts available, which can be not that much fun. Knight b4, bishop d2, b5 was played finally. Right here, a bit weird knight d1 move was played. Don't know why not a3, but probably knight is moving somewhere. And after knight d3, Vladimir already said what the move is going to be. But let's say, why not queen d3? Why, let's say, pawn capture is so much better? Because many people would probably not understand it because it looks like the queen is better placed over here.
Okay, but basically, yeah, to reinforce the center once again to play d4. Also, you get c file except of this.
Yeah. Also, there is one famous thing is that French bishop always sucks, and unless you develop it, it's not gonna end well. And right now, this bishop is looking at the wall from pawns, and if we manage to play d4, somehow maybe b4, which is not necessary, then the bishop will be bad. And right here, we can see that Steinitz relies on the knight and he spots that there are some holes in the position of black that he would like to use. So he playing purely strategically, not really complicating the game, not letting his opponent breathe too much. And how do you think what black must have done in this position? Because it's getting worse and worse.
Okay, you know this feeling, Vladislav, when there's like 9 p.m. already, all the stores are closing, but it's 8:55 on your clock. Probably should end there and take some food there. So the same as here. I mean, if you are saying that white plans to play d4 and shut down this c8 bishop, why we don't play d4 ourselves? right here.
Yeah,
What do you think?
we can play d4, opening up the bishop. We can play b4, which can be even trickier, playing the bishop on
B4, D4.
a6.
Yeah, B4 is the
Yeah,
idea to develop bishop via A6 then.
yeah, because then we at least can develop on a6, and this bishop is the one that white doesn't have, therefore he's pretty strong. In the bishop pair, usually leading one is the one that your opponent doesn't have. But by the way, related to the story about the store closing, once I came right in the last moment, I took some food, and then I got food poisoning.
Oh
Whoa,
wow,
hot
that's so
take.
lucky.
So
And
yeah,
okay, and to story also of closing toilet, you can check our previous video about Kirill Shevchenko as well.
yeah, that's true. Right here, queen b6 was played, and he receives b4 right in his face. And right now, why is this move so powerful? Because the bishop has to go back, and right now white has total control over dark squares. And if white managed somehow to place these pieces over there, position speaks for itself. Black cannot move, black cannot do anything. And after a3, again,
Yeah,
d4.
the problem is that white cannot play d4 in this position because in this case, I mean, it's still too early for this because there will be some problems on knight b6, knight c4, and we cannot play bishop e3 because bishop b4 will happen. So white needs to waste extra tempo of protecting this pawn on a3, and this thing allows black to react with d4 here at least.
Exactly. Even if we drop a pawn, it would be still worth it. I guess we don't, but it was like must to play. But not understanding general concepts, playing f5, maybe trying to close the center and attack later. I don't know what was in the mind of Alexander. But right here, rook c1 comes, bishop b7, bishop e3, queen d8, knight d4, knight f8, castle. Look at this wonderful position. Like this knight is terrible, piece is not moving, the bishop is absolutely terrible. And by the way, back then, as you probably already heard in the history note and information, that like it was normal to play very aggressively, very attacking. So this was counted as a very boring play, and Steinitz was actually accused a couple times of this. And yeah, but right here he totally dominates, which is totally normal nowadays. And in 12th century already it was total norm, but back then it was somehow a reveal. And h5 was played, preventing g4. Because but Vladimir, would you ever consider like moves like g4 in this position for white
Okay, no,
having
I probably go and win on the dark squares and the queen side here
exactly?
rather
But
than doing.
back then everybody like g4, that's the only way to continue, so we must stop it. Knight c3, king of 6, king of 7 was played, and this is probably the most classical but anyway very beautiful way to capitalize on dark squares in the position. What maneuver did Steinitz use, or Steinitz, I don't know, always mix
So,
up.
okay, there are two different ways, probably two different ideas in this type of position. One is that you often try to trade your dark square bishop somehow, if you can to do it. Let's say, for example, I'll say knight b3, bishop c5 idea, but now it's impossible because, I mean, rook c8 will be played, still it's too early. Knight
Plus,
b7 will
after
be
knight
played,
b3, I assume that
d4,
cold shower will be d4 or something, because then the
at
bishop
least to
will
open the bishop.
resurrect.
Because white doesn't have opponent of light square bishop, it's not there any longer. Yeah, so it's still too early. So, and in general, between then we need to bring knight to c5. I mean, and between two knights, our knight is on very powerful on d4. Except of stopping d4 for black, it's also it's very active. I mean, it's pressuring everything. So other knight is kind of useless. Knight c3 reminds me of this Magnus Carlsen maneuver now that we criticized in our one of our last video. But yeah,
Yeah,
knight b1, knight d2, knight b3
in
will be
his
played
game
here
against Parham Maksudlu, but knight b1 was played
because
right
now
here.
knight knows where he goes. Right.
Yeah, knight goes to either from b3 to c5 or a5. His opponent tries to do something, but knight a5 comes because c5 was controlled, bishop goes to a8, and it's already like a torture. Right now we have a battle on the open file. Can we win it somehow?
I mean, absolutely. First of all, we can even take on c8 and play rook c1 at least. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. Then queen c2 continues a squeeze, controlling open file. Rook c8 is not working. Bishop d8 was played, and now it's time for a knight to infiltrate. Taking would lead to instant disaster because everything is hanging in the position right now. After queen b7, knight takes d8, rook takes d8, queen c7 was played. It's really some joke because black cannot almost move because taking, we infiltrate, this is almost over. And right here, it looks like the rook is only one piece that stops us from infiltrating, from winning, taking we can, and it would be winning. But
That
White
looks unfair.
noticed that one piece is not working in the position who can target this rook. And can you
Yeah.
show what the genius maneuver White used right here?
Yeah, that's typical smart idea that uses all players playing Dutch nowadays, like bishop f2, bishop h4, making the bad bishop better.
Yeah, and there is nothing Black can do. Black decided to defend somehow, but this is like,
I'm curious, Vladislav, haven't it happened to you sometimes that you're playing the game, you have this position as white, and you just a little bit annoyed that your opponent doesn't want to resign
yeah,
yet,
yeah, it
and there's no
happens.
sense to continue playing?
That was, by the way, like funny game. I mean, it was all over internet in Gotham video, but there was a guy from like this chess bra, Aman Hambleton, and he played against some IM or some master on the
Hmm.
chess.com, and his opponent didn't want to give up without any material, so he promoted all the pieces on the back rank and like mated him. So he like mated having all the pieces on the initial places.
I remember in my city of my birth in Lugansk in Ukraine, there was a guy, a friend of us, that was banned, like that
He wasn't banned,
arbiter.
but he,
Okay, but they let him loose of the game, I think.
yeah, it was like, yeah, friend Nikita who, like, yeah,
My house, my rules, said this famous Sirodinka guy. So yeah.
yeah, yeah, this guy was very annoying. He was like few times actually interfering and like doing all controversial decisions when somebody made fun of chess. And this is the next game, which I actually picked because, as I mentioned before, William Steinitz was the guy who kind of started playing defensively, not only positionally, and he's kind of famous for also his approach of passive defense. Is that normally nowadays everybody tries to defend actively, but defensive passively, it's kind of you trying not to make a lot, I mean, make some concessions to reinforce your position, to try to make it look solid, to reflect all the direct threats of your opponent, to slowly try to move on, improve your pieces, and if you have, let's say, material advantage, just try to trade pieces. And let's say right here, Vladimir, would you prefer playing this position for white?
I mean, as I can count pawns, I have one more, right? So definitely I'll prefer to play it with white if I know that there is nothing happens, but it looks very scary, to be honest.
I don't know. I would never play white right here because it looks absolutely scary. All the pieces of black developed, our queen side absolutely underdeveloped, and this all are really big problems. But not for Steinitz. There are many moves right here, but he comes up with a very good decision. He says that okay, my queen side is struggling, but playing something like b3, rook e8, bishop b2, knight e4 is a good way to resign. Actually, Vladimir came up with some idea rook e1, king d1, but then we discussed a little bit, and it's very hard still to
To
develop.
play after it, yeah.
Yeah, and in this position, he decides, okay, my pawn is hanging, I need to reinforce it so that my bishop could be developed. Therefore, I need to move my knight. And there are two logical squares where to go. And he plays knight e1, which is a brilliant practical decision. And even though engine can swear right here, it's a very good move because compared to knight f2, there is a move knight b4 where this pawn is unprotected. So he goes knight e1 because after rook e8, d3, we kind of defend the position. There is a way to create pressure and engine shows something like knight d5 or something like that, but it's like very difficult move order to find. His opponent plays very natural move knight b4, preparing some potential threat of sacrificing the pawn and going to d3, and let's say after d3, yeah, you shouldn't be like Magnus Carlsen to see such tactics. Uh, Instead, Staines plays a3. He say, "Get out of here! Why you came here? Like, what you doing? Just move away." And right here, the problem is that knight c2 looks good, but we just take and say goodbye. King goes back, very nice way. Rook e8 was played, and everybody would like, "Oh no, I'm dead." Right now, knight e4 is coming, but not William Steinitz. He plays 8 b4, knight takes e4, and trade here. Actually, this is a very cool moment because right now king d1 looks very reasonable, but knight c3, knight f2, we just destroyed absolutely. So he comes up with a great intermediate move. Can you name it, Vladimir?
Okay, then it's hard to spot in this position, to be honest. But maybe I can throw check on f5.
Exactly, it's not that hard to just move away the queen out of danger. And after king b8, he took, and played king d1. And he says like, okay, where is your attack? I'm up a piece. And the game went on. He just improved the king, improved the knight, developed the bishop, and after a
I
while,
mean,
the
this
game
position even I
was.
can win already, right? I mean, there's free piece already in this
Uh,
point.
I guess you could even fight with Steinitz in 19th century because majority of players were in that advanced. I heard somebody's point that like Murphy was like 2400 around when everybody was around 21. So I guess
Yeah, so probably.
we could fight. And right now the most interesting part, in my opinion, of this video series, we're gonna try to uh, give grades to our opponent using next like scale from 1 to 10. And the first one is domination or dominance, how the player dominated when he played, when he was world champion or around this time. And my grade will be 7 out of 10. Why is it so? Because first of all, he was winning almost every tournament. Another problem is that there was no so many tournaments, and he like had a gap for 9 years when he was working at newspaper about the chess, wrote some articles, analysis, but still he was pretty dominant. Why not 10? Because still he not always scored first place. He also in the beginning of the tournaments lost lots of games, and then he lost against Lasker, and already after it in the like being old didn't score as well. So I think 7 is a solid take. What do you think, Vladimir?
I'll give him solid 8 even because this guy, first of all, I mean, between all these fishes in the ocean, like he became the world champion at some point. Like he was always there, he was one of the top, and then since he arrived, he was winning some matches against Chigorin as well, against Tukir Tort. So I mean, he was dominating, and for me, I mean, I cannot give 10 because I mean, 10 is already like reserved. It's like in football, you know, sometimes they reserve it for some players that quit the club or something. I mean, we cannot discuss it. But so I need to give less, and I think 8 will be exact one also because I mean, yes, he got beaten by Lasker, but okay, when you're 58, Vladislav, I hope you still will be alive at least. So I mean, it's quite hard.
Yeah,
It's
that
quite
would be
hard to
not
play
bad.
it. I
Yeah.
would happy to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you a bit praise him, but interesting point. Next one is the talent. And right here, it's pretty hard to measure the talent when you back, but I would say it's 5. Maybe you would be surprised, but he seems more like hard-working guy, which would be the next grade for us, because yeah, he figured out how to play positionally. Yeah, he like questioned his play and stuff like that. But you know, it's not like some Capablanca or Fischer when you have a general gift. So he's rather a worker, in my opinion, rather than some genius like some Murphy, for example, around his time. So that's my point. What do you say?
Excuse me, Ladislav, I'll not agree with you again. I'll give 7.5, more or less.
No,
Can I
it
give
is
7.5 or
no,
7 or 8?
no 7 or 8.
Nah, it's so hard for me.
But
Okay, I give
okay,
it 8.
okay. Actually, maybe we can do 7.8,
But okay,
7.5.
let's give it 8. Why? Because, I mean, first of all, once again, the time, there's no like a lot of chess books or something. There's not a lot of material to study. Like you can work hard, you can analyze the position and whatsoever. But I mean, you don't have this that many material to study. And he was one of the first who came up with this idea to play like defensively, to change play style. Like, I mean, if he's not the talent that, for sure, there are some other guys who try to work hard. Not many probably, but there were. And also in the other hand, like why between all these guys, he's the one who created this idea and this play style, and he started to do it well, and not everybody else. I mean, I think just with work you cannot do it. I mean, you gave him like some sense of talent there, I remember, but I think you need to be really talented in this time to reach somewhere. So I think 8, I'll give it.
Okay, I guess when we come to bigger fishes in the sea, Vladimir would regret giving 8 left and right, but we'll see.
Mm, well,
Next
not sure.
one is hard work, and I give him 7 because he was working pretty hard, not like 24/7, but he made his chess like a career, which helped him to die without money in the end. Pretty sad but yeah, he had a lot of like novelties. He was working at home. He found the study, which definitely deserves a 7, which is a pretty good grade. But maybe Vladimir would think differently and give
A
11
bit,
out
a
of
bit,
10.
uh, a bit different. 9 out of 10 because first of all, Vladislav, you have
Yeah,
some logical problems. I don't know if you played, when you were a kid. My mother was always playing me with these like logical games because you give person a 5 in the talent and you give him 7 in hardworking. So in this part, it's kind of 6 intermediate. Does it possible to work like to have a total of 6 to reach somewhere? But in except this, I mean, the hard work is even more than talent. We know all this. So let's say you give someone no talent and just 6, 7 like of hard
Vladimir.
work, and it's possible to become world champion. I mean, I think it's so hard to be
Vladimir,
honest.
it's like when we compare it with other world champions, so we not compare it with
Yes,
average
I
players,
understand.
and
This is
and
absolutely.
it's like when you watch a movie which is 7 on IMDb, and you compare it with some Shawshank Redemption, yeah, or some top level, and you say like why you score so small for this movie? It's because of like everything is relatable, like
No, but
Einstein
okay. I
and
mean, I
stuff
think
like
it's
that.
quite hard out of nowhere learn how to play it
Yeah,
well.
it's
I
just
think
like
you just.
when
I
we
think
come
people
to
before overall need to work hard than nowadays. Like if
when we talk about some Ava or Alakine or other guys, I would see how your lack of grades.
no, maybe I'll give them like even 10 on hardworking, but I'll give them 1 for a talent. We don't know it. Let's see in next videos.
Okay, next one is entertainment, and right now you're gonna boo me, but actually I'm gonna give it a 4. Because in general, I mean, back then he was not counted as entertaining. Right now, it doesn't age well because every like 2000s can use holes in the position, especially if you take lessons from such experienced coaches and we are. Little advertisement, and yeah, it's like he had some interesting games back then, and they were like really cool. But his main playing style was around these defensive ideas, and that's the reason why I think he's not as entertaining as other players if we compare them.
Okay, for me it's quite solid 7, 8. Let's say I'll give 7. Well, maybe not 8, because why 7? You can say that it's too high, maybe once again, but I don't. Since that is my personal rating, right? I mean, there are people who like to watch comedies and like ha ha ha, and the people who likes to watch like documentaries or some thrillers where it's a
Yeah,
bit boring for
I
some
get what
people.
you mean.
But I enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy this kind of play style, not just by played by Steinitz. I mean, by other people of more or less this play style. Let's say if you show me Mikhail Tal, I'll just turn off my laptop. I mean, I want to see it in my screen, unfortunately. So I like to see these kind of games because for me, kind of tactics, everyone can learn it. I mean, you can just calculate, 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 and that's it. But to understanding, positional understanding, to be better than your definitely strong opponent move by move, and with this get a game advantage in your favor, right, and convert it. I think that's just more hard and more exciting to see for me. So I'll give him 7, I think.
Okay, okay. I guess Vladimir already has his icon somewhere. Okay, influence on chess is next one. It means that how much the guy impacted on theory, how many interesting examples he has, and stuff like that, stuff like that. And here I would give him a 7 because I mean, first of all, there are a few opening series, like in French, there is like Steinitz variation. In like Ruy Lopez with d6, bishop d7, this super solid setup was he invented it, improved like Steinitz variation as well. Plus, he was like. I mean, writing some articles in some magazine. He was publishing some works. So I guess it's a pretty solid 7.
Yeah, again, I was between 7 and 8, but here I agree with you a bit 7. I think basically because of the same reason, right? He was part. I was thinking to give it 8 actually because of the same what you said exactly. But okay, I could think that maybe it was more because I mean nowadays it's difficult to invent something new like being world champion. I mean it's not you the one who inventing; it's your team who is inventing this. So in this part, just because, but okay, I'll agree with 7. I mean, finally, let's say if some guy, let's say Caruana or Magnus plays some opening, I mean, finally it's his, like we can call it.
And the
That's my
last
old one.
one is influence kind of outside of the chess. It can be like any, I don't know, development in some country, popularity of chess. It can be like fight for prize money, but I explained in the beginning of the video. And I give him 6 because generally speaking, he didn't make chess very popular, but he got a plus definitely for participating in the first ever World Championship match against Zuckertort. After him, the history started. Yeah, he was writing some articles, but it's rather about the chess work. So outside of that, uh, I mean, I cannot say. So I guess 6 because other people possibly could contribute more, like Fischer and others.
Okay, I'll give him. And again, I was thinking between 6 and 7. Now I'll go a little bit higher. I'll give him 7. Once again, I think first of all we cannot expect this time from Steinitz to, let's say, doing the same things that does any player nowadays with all the social media, with all this like hype around them. Let's say Nakamura as at the end become world champion, etc. To have the same kind of influence on chess, it's I think just was more harder. Chess was kind of game that was not very popular, and I mean from being first champion. First of all, yes, that's it. Just for this, we can give him high score. And except is, yeah, counting. I mean, it should be objective. Like nowadays, it's much more easier. Like even in the time of Fischer or something to influence on chess than that time. So I think we will give him 7. I think.
Okay, makes sense. But actually, I mean, Lasker was the next world champion, but he fought for prizes, so he kind of could do also a little bit more. But okay, I agree. So Vladimir praised Steinitz. I don't know. I didn't know that he loves him so much. Interesting what controversial picks would be later and who would think like Titanic. But please, this is our like new series about all world champions. So please like, subscribe, write if you agree with our
Yes, please
grades.
comment. It helps us to boost video. You can type that I don't understand nothing in chess like you like to do, but please type something and support our channel.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and see you in next episodes. Bye.
Ciao.